Hyper-Personalization, how smart businesses are winning customer loyalty in 2025. In this episode, Jim Barker from Cooperative Computing explores how personalization has become critical for business success in today's digital economy. Through real-world examples from Netflix to food delivery services, you'll learn how to create personalized experiences that drive customer loyalty and reduce friction in your business operations. I'm your co-host Anthony Pearl, and whether you're just starting your digital journey or looking to accelerate your existing efforts, it's time to get enabled digitally. Jim, let's talk about the idea of personalization, because it's become an imperative for business now, because there's an expectation from consumers that things will be personalized. How important is it to have the systems in place to enable that?
Oh, significantly. So in an earlier episode, we talked about me calling into the airline and them answering and saying, "Thanks for calling, Jim. How can we help you today?" That experience is phenomenal for me. As you recall, I'm going to pick up my wife from the airport. I merely speak to my phone, tell it to call. It calls. When it calls, I state a couple of things. It states a couple of things back to me, and I'm done. That experience to me is like, I use it. I use it on an earlier episode. I use it on this episode. I use it over and over because it's like, that's what what we call superior customer experience is all about. It's like, we've got to be, and look, our expectations as consumers is rising at such a high level. I'm still surprised that organizations that we go into, that by the time we get in, and we'll go through a process of this digital maturity experience where we'll go in and understand, the branding and marketing, how they're operating. We'll go into sales and commerce, operations, fulfillment, different areas of the business. And I'm still, it's still awkward to me to go into businesses that they don't have any degree of personas identified that marketing or sales even talk about. And look, we try to make these things, when we help clients with these types of things, we try to make them fun names. I think I shared with you on an earlier episode, some of ours are like revenue Ron, marketing Mary, operations Oliver, finance Fiona, executive Edwards. We have these different people where when we're talking internally, we're thinking that, like, when we have a conversation with someone and I'm talking to someone else within our organization, they'll say, well, so what's the person's role? And I'll say, oh, this is a marketing Mary. And so it's like, oh, okay. So it kind of relates to that. It's still interesting to me that people are missing personalization by thinking about, how do I identify who my customers are? Like, how much time do I really spend understanding who they are? So we'll go through a process with clients to help them really document and articulate what are their interests, all different types of data, depending on if it's a B2C client or a B2B client. We'll help them go through and really identify, what are those people? What do they look like? What are their desires when they come to you? What's the journey they're normally on? What are the issues they're normally dealing with that makes them want to reach out to you? And so it's really interesting to me that organizations still miss some of that. There's too many organizations, in my opinion, that still miss some of that. In that process, it becomes the journey. People that come to organizations for one reason over another. My youngest daughter, and I have completely different buying experiences. Luckily, she helps me with my clothes, so I tend to look a lot better than I would without her. But her taste level is so high, where mine is not as high, and so I'm practical. She's creative. She's, hey, I want Dad to look impressed. Those kinds of things, and that's great. But because our buying experiences are so different, you have two different personas there. We may be buying the exact same thing, because this may have been a shirt that she got me. Okay, well, that may be a process. But what's really important is to understand those people and to be able to personalize the experience when they come. So one of the examples that's a pretty common one is, if we think about a lot of these digital platforms now, whether it be Netflix or Amazon or something, it reminds me of getting on Netflix and looking at, I'm like, what in the world? Here a couple of weeks ago, I'm going, what in the world? I would never watch any of it. What is it? And then I realized, they've got personalization built into their platform too. I actually logged into my daughter. It's our account, but I logged in as my persona as my daughter. Okay, well, her watching movies and shows are a lot different than my watching movies and shows. She has no action in hers, and I have a lot of action in mine. So it's like, okay, so there's this, I have a lot of sports in mine, she doesn't. So there's a personalization there that it's like, it made me think of it consciously. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this is cool. So as soon as I hit a couple of buttons, go back and get into mine, then all my stuff pops back up for me. So it's like personalization and I was thinking, wow, this is personalization right here, because now, I saw something. I didn't even log into hers before, so I didn't know what the experience of logging in as my daughter would look like. Now I know, and now I realize, oh, okay, she watches these types of shows, I watch these types of shows. Every organization needs some capacity of that. We need to understand our customers, because the reality is the consumer buying behavior is changing at such a drastic level. We start expecting things. We start expecting. There's a place here that I order tacos from, and I expect I can get on my app and I can order tacos, and usually in 15, 20 minutes they'll be at our door. It'll be a day where I'm working through lunch or something. It's like, okay, tacos are easy enough. I'll just get some tacos. And probably I'll say a month and a half ago, an hour goes by, they don't show up. I'm just get off a call. I'm like, what in the world? I call into the place and talk to them. Oh, we delivered it. And so I'm like, what? And I realized they delivered it to the wrong place. So it's like, there's just a little bit of a breakdown. It's okay, because what the taco shop said to me was, we're so sorry, Mr. Barker. We know that where you're located. We have no idea why the delivery driver took it to the wrong place. We're going to get you the tacos, and you get 2 more free tacos on the way next time you order. And so it's like, okay, they knew enough about me that helped them save an experience that probably wasn't a great experience. But the reason they knew enough about me was because they had enough information on me through my app and my buying experience that they knew exactly what type of tacos listen, we got you. We're going to give you that brush fire and one more of whatever the other one was that I had that day. And we got those reserved anytime you want them. And this one's on the house. So it's kind of like they had to know that degree of personalization to save a bad experience, where I may have had 40 great experiences with them. That one bad experience could have been a little bit more painful. It actually turned into a good moment where their personalization worked really well in winning me back over from a cause that may not have been the best to start out with.
And it's such an interesting example, because I can relate totally to that. And I remember when we lived in a previous place and we had a delivery of some food, and they say it's delivered and they send us a photograph. We look at that photograph and go, well, I don't know where that is, but it's not our front door. And the interesting thing about the restaurant didn't react in the same way that you did. What they said was, because it was through a third party, and whether it was Uber or whatever it was basically, we'll refund you, but you have to go and place the order again. So now we had to go through the whole process of ordering and waiting. So, it was another hour before we were eating our meal. And that experience of not caring to the same degree, yes, there was a refund, and then we had to order it again. So that it wasn't even that they could instantly reprocess the order again. We actually had to go through the process of, what did we choose? Let's punch all that in again so that we can order it. And I think that, that ease and use of technology and personalization is huge, right? I mean, that whole idea of taking photographs as things are being delivered is now standard for all the delivery companies. But it wasn't that long ago where if something wasn't delivered, it could take days before they could track it and get a hold of the driver and him try and remember where he actually delivered it. And of course, swearing blind that he did deliver it, whether he decided to put it somewhere else or to, go and sell it, or, all of those kinds of things were always options. Nowadays, it's so, driven by the technology that it's still important to be able to do that.
Yep, absolutely. And you can see, like, digitally enabled organizations like the taco place that I ordered from, it was easy for them to just take care of it. And so I knew that's like, okay, they didn't have a cumbersome process. And I'm sure they probably did use a third party. They didn't even worry about it. They're just like, hey, we got it. If you're still okay with it, we got them on the way. They'll be there in about 10 minutes. And oh, by the way, this one's on the house, and so is your next order next time you call in. And so it's like, to me, it's like, okay, you just created an experience because you knew enough. First off, they knew enough about me to know that I was a repeat customer, but they also knew the tacos I normally order too. And so it's like, they knew that take care of a customer experience. And it was, anyway, yeah, it's all about they needed to be equipped where they could just repeat the order really quickly and make sure I was taken care of. And it wasn't too complicated for an employee to say, well, you're going to have to go back in and re-enter your order, and we're going to give you credit back. But it's like, okay, I don't want to go through all that.
And I think what's interesting is the expectation. You alluded to Netflix as a good example earlier on, and you know, and how we expect that, right? And that a perfect example. You log onto your daughter's account and you go, well, hang on, that's not what I would be watching. You should be bringing up with the selections of the things that I'm more accustomed to be watching. And we have that expectation. That's because you have got big companies, and media companies are particularly the ones that have led a lot of this personalization over the years, because it's got more and more specific, isn't it? Initially we just had the broad free to air channels, then we had cable TV, and even within that, there's been more and more options, more and more providers, but more and more options that are more specific in there. It used to be that there was just maybe a lifestyle channel, but now there's the cooking channel versus the house building channel, etc. And it's really an expectation that as consumers that is being driven by some of these media organizations that has to have a flow-on effect then to what we're expecting businesses to be able to deliver at all levels.
That's right. And the digital landscape is developing so fast. You almost have to have personalization involved, because there's so much coming to us now as consumers. There's so much advertising. There's so many, if you get on the app stores, a ridiculous amount of apps now. There's so much coming to us. It's like you've got to have some degree of personalization built within how you serve your customers, so that you can make sure that their journey and experience is a repeatable one and not one with any friction. Eliminating friction is the key. We happen to have talked about the tacos, and that's that taco delivery. While it had a tad bit of friction, it had a lot of personalization involved, and that helped overcome that friction point for me.
Yeah, and it's being able to personalize to the degree where you might be using some level of automation and tools and AIs and things, but personalization enough to make it feel that it is personal. Because it used to be that we could get away with saying, hi, change the name, and everything else is the same. But now there's an expectation that there will be a little bit more recognition than just that basic.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a pizza franchise here in the States, Domino's. I don't know if they have them over there, but here in the States, we worked with a pretty good sized Domino's franchise years ago, and this is many years ago, but it was really around simple things like, how do you identify people's desires and make the process of ordering super simple, so that if you have the Barkers who are going to order the same type of pizza every Sunday afternoon while the Dallas Cowboys are playing. Okay, well, if that's the case, we know the pizzas they're going to order. So when they call in, just make the process easy. Or when they get on the app, make the process easy. Just ask them, you want your favorite pizzas again? You want these two? Like breadsticks with them? Those types of things. We help them through some of that process to integrate that through every channel of communication, through live chat, through the contact center, through their web experience, through the app, through all of those, so that it could really personalize that experience, and it makes a difference for people. It really is. We have a tremendous amount of impatience as people these days, because we just expect things. We expect them. This is what's changing in that shift around consumer buying behavior. We just expect things. We expect them smooth. We expect them quick. We expect them at a fair price, and those things are just commonplace for us. And our expectations and our impatience is only growing.
Oh, absolutely. It's our attention span is shorter and shorter all the time. But it's the challenge for business, of course, is as well as making that quick and easy because they're a repeat, but it's also being able to educate on new things that are coming in and new opportunities and personalize those, because we understand your buying habits in the past. We need to do this. And what's really interesting is that I find that whilst the data is there, and I look at supermarket chains as a good example, most of them have a kind of replacement thing. So if you order this, you tick a box, we'll replace it for you. What's really interesting is they don't go to the next extent to understand what replacing it actually means. So if I've ordered gluten-free bread, there's no point sending me new normal bread, because I can't eat it. But yet that kind of thing will happen, right? And so they haven't actually learnt enough yet, and that personalization is expected. And so it might be easy enough to understand that this gluten-free bread brand is no longer available, but don't replace it with the general brand that's not gluten-free. Find another gluten-free brand to replace it with. And I think those things are important in understanding it, and yet even in some of those companies are not getting it right yet. I think personalization is going to, just increase in its importance for business to be able to interact with their audience, isn't it? It's just something that we are going to expect more and more of, that they will know about what our habits are, what our preferences are, what to talk to us about and what to not talk to us about.
That's right. That's right. And it really takes a strong commitment to learning customer preferences. It's really like, do you really know your customer? Are you really studying your customer to really understand them really well? And organizations that do it remarkably spend a lot of time studying their customers.
And I think that's the interesting lesson, isn't it? That goes back to things that we've talked about in previous episodes: studying the data, having a CRM in place, mixing in with the automation and the AI. These are all important elements. They're all integrated.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. What we talk about in the digital enablement capacity is around hyper-automation, hyper-personalization, and data-driven decisions. That applies to pretty much personalization and everything else that we've talked about in these other episodes.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Get Enabled Digitally. I'd like to thank Jim Barker for sharing his insights and expertise today. And if you found value in our conversation, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review, because your feedback helps us continue to deliver quality content that matters to you. For more information about cooperative computing and how they can help your organization accelerate into the automated economy, check out the links in our show notes. Have questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes? You'll find our contact information in the show notes as well. This show has been produced by podcastdoneforyou.online. I'm Anthony Pearl, and until next time, keep moving forward to get enabled digitally.